Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at yet another of these beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian figures. This, however, was the exclusive figure to the Kickstarter, so if you didn't take part in the Kickstarter, you probably didn't have an opportunity to purchase this one, unfortunately. However, again, the figure was actually released in the main line anyway with an alternate paint scheme, more of a prehistoric beasts from Phil Tippett style paint scheme as opposed to this one, which is now the Monoclonius as opposed to the juvenile Centrosaurus, and that's because this one is a throwback to Dino Riders, and if you are familiar with Dino Riders, you should probably already have a pretty good idea of that. Just looking at the kind of artwork here is just very, very much so like Dino Riders, and you can really get the feel of that having the Monoclonius figure here with a very similar paint scheme to the Dino Riders version. And I really like the box of this one because they actually give you a slipcase here that goes over top of the packaging. So it's like a full slipcase as opposed to just that little one. Up here on the top, you could see a few images of the figure that is actually contained within, as well as, again, stating Monoclonius and all of this fun stuff over here. And then if we take a look at the back, we have yet another image of the Monoclonius, and some more images actually of the figure itself and everything going on over here. So really cool slipcover. When you actually remove the slipcover, you can see a ton of the figures that are included here in the first wave of these Ceratopsians. So I'm really psyched to get this figure opened and take a look at it because, again, being a Dino Riders throwback type of an influenced figure, it's something I'm really interested in because I was a huge fan of Dino Riders back when it was actually on TV. That was a show that I watched consistently all the time. So I'm really excited to take a look at this. So let's open it up right now. So on top of the incredible exclusive packaging, that kind of really cool, beautiful looking slipcover, you actually also get the card, which for some reason I did not realize that you get a card with the exclusive version as well. I thought that was kind of just limited to the, more mainline figures from the overall Beast of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian line, but you do get a really nice card with, again, that same style of artwork, that same artwork that we saw on the front of the slipcase, and it's awesome, absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, on the back, we have a little bit of information on the actual species, and then a shot of the figure. A very nice Beast of the Mesozoic logo right there, Monoclonius as well. So really cool. I like that this card is actually quite different than some of the others as far as the appearance goes too, really giving it, again, more of that special feeling to the figure. And here is our Dino Riders style Monoclonius, and it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful, just like every single figure has been so far. I really like the paint scheme on this one, and I love straight away how the kind of bluish coloration creeps between the scales in certain spots. It gives it such an incredibly cool appearance overall, but again, yet another fantastic looking figure, this one being a very limited run, being the exclusive to the Kickstarter, so it's going to be something that's a little harder to get a hold of in the future. I'm not sure if there are any left. I know there was some left previously, but at this point they may be all gone now. But regardless, this figure, again, looks incredible here at first glance, so let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So as far as this figure goes, we have actually reviewed the sculpt already because it's the exact same sculpt as the juvenile Centrosaurus, which we have seen previously here on the channel. So we only really need to take a look at what is new with this figure as opposed to the entire figure as a whole like we've already done previously. But you could see that as far as the face goes, we have many different variations of color up here on the face. You could see quite a lot going on as far as different variations of blues and even like bluish greens, and it just looks incredible the way it's painted. I love how many variations, like just looking right here, you can see darker and lighter blues as well as like greenish blues creeping up. Then you have really dark, almost black blues right here. There's just so much going on, and again, this is what I was talking about, how the blue kind of creeps through the scales almost like a wash, and it looks incredible the way they've kind of applied that nice dry brushing there to bring the scale detail out beautifully, but also to shine through that gorgeous blue paint that we've used on the figure. You can see that the eye is painted with a nice yellowish coloration, giving a nice black pupil, and also has a really nice realistic gloss coat to it. Those scoots that run up and then down along the frill, up over the eyebrow, down along the frill, look great, really nicely painted. beautifully weathered as well, and you can see that here on the horn. You can see that's a very nice weathering effect that they've applied to the horn. Beautiful tip here that transitions to a nice black to really elaborate the tip of the horn. Similar in paint to the Styracosaurus, I think. You can also see that up here on the top, that as well is really nicely weathered, beautifully painted in a very, very realistic way. You can see very nice blue kind of circle, well, half of a circle, I guess, right here on the frill as well, just giving it a little bit of color difference and a little bit of flashiness up here as well. And again, more really nice color variation. The further down here into the underside, you get really beautiful bluish greens here on the underside. The jaw is, of course, articulated. You can see some nice weathering on the beak as well, similar to what we see up on the horns. The inside of the mouth is a very, very nice looking purplish coloration. Beautiful gloss coat added to that as well, like always. The Monoclonius has a very small mouth, so you can't get in there too well and actually see what's going on inside the mouth, but it does look quite nice as far as what we can actually see. Looking at this side, you can also see how nicely painted the eye is. Again, with that really nice gloss coat. Looks great from every angle. As we move back here into the neck, you can see a very nice black streak as well as some nice light blue, and then the black streak running along the actual spine is the entire way until we can see a little bit of a hint of like brown throughout, really nicely shown off down here on the tail, but you can even see it up here, almost like a brown wash that's included in there. And then you can see again some more variations of green. Very nice light blues down there. The black comes up here along the side, and you have some more of those scoots that are painted in very similar fashion to what we saw up on the head sculpt of the figure. And those scoots also run up here onto the back and the hip area. Then moving down here into the front leg, we again can see how that kind of like blue wash or the dry brushing has been applied with the blue creeping between the scales and looking super, super cool yet again here on the front leg. Moving down into the front foot, you can also see some blue creeping through here on the toes, but really nicely done, beautifully painted nails as well. And the nails do sport a very realistic gloss coat. Moving back up here, you can see this blue transition to a green, and then the again, blue wash kind of creeps through that green right there, looking really, really cool. And then you have a very nice mixture of like the black and very dark green right here that transitions to almost just the green without the black. You can see the black kind of runs over this way. Then here in the back we have the green, and then you also again have that beautiful blue wash. And that blue wash kind of continues throughout the entire leg and then transitions to just the underside color, a really nice light blue, very nicely painted nails here on the rear foot. And then we again see that really beautiful wash that kind of creeps through the scales and just looks super, super cool back here on the tail as well. Really nice blues here on the underside. Again, you're going to see pretty much the exact same thing over here, as there's really not going to be very much difference on a figure like this that's articulated where you have to just kind of position it how you would like. But looking at it from every angle, again, it is incredibly well done. And as far as that ode to the Dino Riders series, this thing is perfection. So as far as articulation, it's exactly the same articulation that we saw in the initial juvenile Centrosaurus. We have the beautiful articulation here in the neck, which can allow the figure to look all over the place. I love the positioning of the head when it's looking up on this figure specifically. Really reminds me so much of the Monoclonius from Phil Tippett's Prehistoric Beast. And how I know this figure's not meant to be, a reminder of that, but the initial one was. And at one point, the Monoclonius in that film kind of rears its head up like this, lets out a few noises in fear as it heard a twig snap, and it was, a little concerned with its safety. And I think that they can pull that off perfectly as far as the kind of appearance to this right here. I know I should have said that actually in the Juvenile Centrosaurus review, but just looking at it right here really gives me that feel of that. But again, you can move the head all over the place. There are two areas of articulation right here and right here in the neck region. You also have the articulated jaw, of course. Then you have articulation in the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. The midsection here, you can also see, can articulate quite nicely, allowing some very cool possibilities as far as posing your figure. You also have articulation in the hip, the knee, which is a little stiff, but you can see it go, and then the ankle as well in two different spots, and then the articulation in the tail, which can just go pretty much all over the place and swivel. So lots and lots of articulation, but as far as the size goes, for a length, again, it's going to be the same as the Juvenile Centrosaurus, but if you did not watch that review, to help you out, for a length, we are looking at about the 10-inch range, or about 25.5 centimeters, and then for a height, the highest point would definitely be the frill, about 4 3/4 inches, or 12 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack, Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Beasts of the Mesozoic Kickstarter exclusive Monoclonius. And just like with the juvenile Centrosaurus, again, you can see that even though it's one of the smaller Beasts of the Mesozoic figures, it still sports some extremely nice size overall, and being a Monoclonius in general is absolutely amazing because I did not previously have any Monoclonius figures for my collection, so these, of course, are the very first ones to enter it, and I could not be happier about that. And then for another comparison, here is the juvenile Centrosaurus next to the Monoclonius. So again, of course, same sculpt, but different paint schemes meant to be, again, different style figures, as one is meant to be more of a Phil Tippett's Prehistoric Beast version, and then we have the Dino Riders version. Of course, you can actually purchase them and just kind of pretend they're a mating pair or something like that, but regardless, hopefully, seeing these two figures together will show you that both are equally as beautiful as the other. So this Beasts of the Mesozoic Kickstarter exclusive Dino Riders inspired Monoclonius figure is incredibly beautiful. Again, another insanely nice figure from the Beast of the Mesozoic line. It is a little disheartening that unfortunately not everyone will have an opportunity to own this figure, and I can definitely recommend, if you are interested in it, to search one out because it is a gorgeous figure. But at the same time, we do have the juvenile Centrosaurus in the main line, and you still have an opportunity to own the sculpt, just not this style, this version, the Dino Riders version. Regardless, the figure as a whole is gorgeous in every way. Sculpt-wise, again, fantastic. Just like I had stated in the juvenile Centrosaurus review, the sculpt is just jaw-droppingly beautiful in every way. David Silva never skimps out when it comes to a highly detailed sculpt, and you will find nothing short of an incredibly highly detailed sculpt on this figure and every one of these Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian figures. But paint-wise, again, which is pretty much the only difference between this and the previous release, is really cool on this one. I love the tones of blue and green and bluish green, and there's just so many really cool colors included to the figure, and again, somehow managing to almost look pretty natural on the figure as a whole. I know it doesn't really have to be because it's kind of just a throwback to the Dino Riders series, but it still is really nicely applied and potentially, again, somewhat naturally applied. So David Silva consistently providing very realistic looking paint schemes with some really bright and flashy colors, which is extremely impressive. And again, just like with every figure so far, there is just lots and lots of color variation included. So many different tones of dark greens, light greens, darker blues, lighter blues, blacks, browns, everything. So much color variation, which is one of the things, again, I'm most excited about, I think, with the line, is just how good the paint jobs actually are, because you never really know what to expect until you get a figure in hand. But now that I've actually run through a few of these, I have complete confidence that every single paint job from this point forward is just going to be incredible from these figures. So this is yet another insanely beautiful figure packed with incredible paint application, a gorgeous sculpt, and some insanely awesome articulation like every one of the Beasts of the Mesozoic figures always has. So if you would like to pick this up, again, I don't know if any are left. You can check with David Silva, see if there are any still for sale. Otherwise, your best bet's probably, unfortunately, going to be eBay, where they may be a little pricier. This wasn't exclusive to the Kickstarter. I did hear that there were a few left over at one point recently, so they may still have some, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Regardless, I will try to find a link to somewhere where you can purchase one. If not, again, just keep checking back on places like eBay, Mercari, things like that, and hopefully one will pop up at some point in the near future. Either way, fantastic figure, a high recommendation from me, like every one of these Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsians has been so far. So if you can, pick it up. Otherwise, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.